So, a long time ago in a galaxy far away, I promised I would keep up with this vlog. And surprise, I haven't! In order to make the best use of my time and avoid studying for more exams, I've decided to make another vlog video that will hopefully take place in 4 parts. And whether I'll actually get around to making all 4 parts is still up in the air. But we're gonna push on through because I've got a lot to talk about in a short period of time. But first up, we're gonna talk about my Ireland trip, which took place a few weeks ago at this point. In order to talk about everything I need to talk about, I'm gonna need a little pick-me-up. Praise Jesus for good wine. I love living in a country that allows you to keep alcohol in your room. And I'm drinking wine out of a jar. The South never leaves me. A few weeks ago now, my flatmate Bella and our friend Joe and I were sitting at a table when I threw out the idea, hey, let's go to Northern Ireland because it's gorgeous there. And we were all like, yeah, it is gorgeous there. And I was like, yeah, and they even have Guinness. Long story short, within a few short days, we planned a trip to both Dublin and Northern Ireland, and it was great. Dublin is such a fantastic city. It might actually be my 3rd favorite city in all of Europe. That's behind Edinburgh and London, and I guess right now it's tied with Barcelona, but it's still pretty great. There's lots of books and music and culture and people, and I'm doing a terrible job at describing Dublin. And this is exactly why I film while traveling. One of the things Joe and I did was go to the Guinness storehouse. Guinness! And if you know anything at all about my alcoholic preference, you know that Guinness is my favorite. It was like going to Disney World for big people. Unless, of course, you're me, and in which case it was exactly like going to Disney World. Basically, we learned about the history of Guinness, how it's made, its cultural impact, and on the very last stop of the tour, we got to have our very own pint of Guinness while overlooking the entire city. It was magical. Afterwards, we went to the Trinity College Library, which was filled with old books, which are my favorite kind of books because they smell delightful and they fill me with warm feelings. Speaking of which, upon graduation in May, I'm going to lock myself in my room and read as many novels as I can, uninterrupted. Afterwards, it was getting pretty late, so we just went to a pub and got some food and looked at some of the Christmas lights that the city had on display. One of the perks of studying abroad at this time of year is that every city has a fantastic Christmas display, and every single one of them is different but fantastically beautiful. So we were pretty fortunate. And there's the river and more Christmas lights. Walking by the River Liffey was the last thing we did that night because we had to wake up early the next morning to go on our trip to Northern Ireland. I'm out of wine. As it turns out, Northern Ireland was just as gorgeous as I imagined it would be. Perhaps more so than I was actually expecting. It's a different kind of beauty from Scotland. Our tour took us to Carrick-a-Reid Rope Bridge, where I conquered a fear I didn't even know I had of crossing a giant body of water on a rope bridge. Woo! Go Brittany! On a less frightening note, our tour also took us to many of the Game of Thrones filming sites, which was pretty awesome. That's beautiful.
Yeah, these things. And,
Ooh. What you just saw there was Giant's Causeway, which was phenomenal. Those hexagonal basalt rocks were sexy, and those waves filled me with an unbelievable power because I am a waterbender. the last stop of our tour took us to Belfast, which was actually quite depressing if you know anything about Belfast's recent past. And if you don't, you can look it up yourself because I really don't want to talk about it in this video. Speaking of this video, it's really long at this point, so I'm going to wrap it up because I'm done talking about Ireland and you can wait a little bit longer to hear me speak again. And hopefully you can look forward to another video in the next day or so. That's all for now, so cheers!